October is finally upon us, and thus we will head into the October country. There is a book of that same name, written by Ray Bradbury, and if I'm not much mistaken, published in 1999 or 25 years ago. This is an anthology of macabre and spooky and horrific tales written by the man himself, who was known to write every single day, even if what he wrote wouldn't make it into a finished novel. He would sit down and at least write something. That is one of many ways in which Ray Bradbury has me beat. An advantage of this method is that it allows him to at least chase a thought, even if it's a short thought, and write it to his own satisfaction, free of distraction from influences from the outside world. And that led to some of his more intriguing pieces, many of which ended up here in this book. So I figured, why don't I read all of these again, and I'll break them down one by one throughout the month of October. The first entry in this collection is called The Dwarf, and I'll be upfront with you, it's not the best one, but there is still some good value that can be extrapolated from it in the form of a cautionary tale. It's brief and mainly centers on an exchange between two carnival workers named Ralph and Amy. The year is not determined. This isn't the first time that Ray Bradbury has written about carnivals and odd things happening therein. He famously wrote Something Wicked This Way Comes, and I believe there was even an 80s movie adapted of that. But Ralph and Amy are two different personalities. Ralph is coarse and cruel, whereas Amy's a little bit more empathetic and charitable. And the eponymous dwarf is a man named Mr. Bigelow, who cruelly, the carnies refer to behind his back as Mr. Big. He likes to visit the maze with the House of Mirrors in it, and Ralph just so happens to be the carnival attendant who operates that particular attraction. And he notices that Mr. Bigelow likes to come and pay for the maze on a regular basis and travel through it. And since Ralph knows the attraction inside and out, he's gone and drilled a hole through one of the walls to look into the house, or into the Hall of Mirrors. And he notices that Mr. Bigelow likes to find one particular mirror and stand in front of it because it's a mirror that distorts the viewer's height and makes him look tall. But in the case of Mr. Bigelow, because he's got dwarfism, it makes him look like a normally proportioned human being. Obviously, this is a man who is very sensitive about his abnormality, and this brief daily performance that he gives himself in front of the mirror allows him to feel normally proportioned. But because Ralph is cruel, he finds ways to anonymously needle Mr. Bigelow about this fixation, while when Amy finds out about it, she tries to find something charitable and nice that she can do for him. Mr. Bigelow was inquiring as to the cost of one of the mirrors, and while Ralph was obtuse about it, Amy found out about it and went to go buy him one of these mirrors so that he could have it for himself and he could look at himself in the mirror normally proportioned at any time. She also finds out that Mr. Bigelow is a writer and that he's actually pretty good, but his fixation, as one would understandably assume, is about his dwarfism and the worldly limitations that it puts on him. But when Ralph finds out that Amy's trying to do something nice for Mr. Bigelow, he goes and doubles down on his cruelty and delivers a mirror to him, but it's one that makes the viewer look even shorter and more compact. And when Mr. Bigelow receives the mirror and goes and stands in front of it, the impact on his psyche is so devastating that he runs off to the shooting gallery, steals one of the pistols, and runs away. Most likely, the implication is, to hit the ejector seat on the mortal coil, we'll say, and put himself out of his misery. When Amy finds out, she's devastated, and she goes to run after him to try to find him, whereas Ralph tries to go after Amy and briefly catches himself in front of the mirror, compacted, and is disgusted by what he sees. This is not a happy story, like I said, it's not one of the best ones. It is a cautionary tale. However, I think the lesson that you'll extrapolate from it will largely be reflected in your existing internal values. If you're already inclined to be more like Ralph, chances are you won't be too changed by what you read in here. Likewise, if you're charitable like Amy and empathetic and are able to kind of put yourself in somebody else's shoes and try to feel what they're feeling, then, well, you're going to side with her. I think it's worth noting that Bradbury, for the most part, wrote in the middle and in the latter half of the 20th century when things were changing with regard to the way that people treat abnormalities and outsiders, even racism and all that stuff. And so he might have been writing from a time when Ralph's view was a lot more common, dare I even say prevailing, and somebody with Amy's sensibilities would have been a little bit more rare. Nevertheless, I think these two values are preserved well and represented well in this story through these two characters. But since he's writing about scary things or terrifying things or even morally abhorrent things, the result we get is a man who abuses somebody vulnerable, and we're left to hope that Amy finds him in time, because that's where the story ends. So you can see that in this collection of October Country stories, Bradbury isn't necessarily reaching for the supernatural all the time. The horrifying thing can just be in how human beings choose to treat each other. But the flip side of that coin is that the relief can come from the same thing, just in the other direction. So those are my 2 cents. If you've read The Dwarf by Ray Bradbury, let me know what you think, and check back tomorrow for the next story from the October Country. Till next time, drive safe. See you out there.